Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the News Tonight, your one-stop for the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with Brazilian President Michel Temer. Both leaders discuss ways to scale up cooperation, witness exchange of 4 cross-sectoral MOUs. Farmers start the 48-hour rail roko agitation across Tamil Nadu for Kaveri Management Board. High-level team tells Supreme Court that both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu suffer water shortages. A breather of sorts for India's cricket board. Supreme Court reserves order in the BCCI case, allows the cricket body time to implement reforms without setting a deadline. And joint forces in Iraq start a decisive push to reclaim Mosul from the Islamic State. The city is reported to be the last stronghold of the terrorist forces. Well, starting with cricket, and this is, of course, off the field. The BCCI top brass got another chance on Monday with the Chief Justice of India, T.S. Thakur, asking for an undertaking on the dates by when the Indian Cricket Board will adopt the Justice Lodha Committee's recommendations. The top court had been expected to announce its order on the Lodha Committee plea seeking to replace the current BCCI office bearers for impeding the panel's work, but the CJI request has handed the board some more time.
BCCI's contention that the one state, one vote recommendation would take time to implement has saved its top brass the axe from the apex court. The Supreme Court has reserved its order on BCCI's compliance of Lodha panel recommendations. The BCCI sought more time to implement the reforms, a request granted by the Supreme Court. A deadline has not been set.
कोर्ट काफी सख्त था, वन स्टेट वन वोट. मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हिंदुस्तान में जन्म लिए हुए किसी बच्चे को क्रिकेट खेलना है कि नहीं खेलना है ये डिसाइड करने वाला बीसीसीआई कौन होता है. फंडामेंटल राइट का हनन करने वाला बीसीसीआई आज फिर उसी पे हुआ. वन स्टेट वन वोट अगर हम दे देंगे मणिपुर को, मिजोरम को, नागालैंड, अरुणाचल को, तो बॉम्बे कैसे उसके साथ खेले.
बहुत सारी रिकमेंडेशंस मानी भी गई है और जिन पे कंफ्यूजन है और आपत्ति है तो कंफ्यूजन को दूर करना चाहिए, मुझे लगता है.
Earlier, the amicus curiae in the case, Gopal Subramaniam, had asked the court to appoint an administrator or direct the Lodha committee to do so. He had also sought initiation of civil and criminal contempt charges against BCCI officials for disobeying the apex court's order.
Continuously disrespect of Honorable Supreme Court. बार-बार वही चीज दोहराई गई, क्योंकि आपको याद होगा कि 6 अक्टूबर के आदेश में ये था कि हर स्टेट क्रिकेट एसोसिएशन लोढ़ा कमेटी को इम्प्लीमेंट करेगा. इस रेजोल्यूशन के साथ कॉपी कोर्ट को सामने देगा आज के डेट के पहले, लेकिन कोई स्टेट क्रिकेट एसोसिएशन नहीं आया.
In a personal affidavit filed in the court, BCCI President Anurag Thakur also clarified the approach to the International Cricket Council. He stated that he had not asked the ICC CEO Shashank Manohar to state that the appointment of the Lodha committee would tantamount to government interference in the functioning of BCCI.
जब वो आईसीसी के चेयरमैन बने तब एक बीसीसीआई के अध्यक्ष के नाते मैंने उनसे पूछा जो आपका स्टैंड था, तो आज उसके कारण आप क्या कहना चाहते हो, तो उन्होंने उसके ऊपर अपना उत्तर दिया है. बस उतनी बात हमने कही है उस पे.
On Saturday, in a special general body meeting, the board discussed the possibility of implementing Lodha reforms. All state associations are said to have supported their call to not accept the recommendations. However, Vidarbha, Tripura and Rajasthan are going ahead and accepting all the reforms unilaterally, and the Hyderabad Cricket Association has pledged compliance in an undertaking to a lower court. With inputs from Ravindra Shoran, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
This story, we're joined by Shekhar Luthra, a senior sports journalist of the DNA as well, writing for the DNA as well, the sports editor, joining us at the moment in the studio. Shekhar, you know, before the 17th of October, whatever we could read, especially when it came to a lot of, the cricketing experts, a lot of questions were being raised, especially among the fans as well, of whether this was really going to be the last innings that we were going to see in court today. But clearly, this is going to be stretching on this is that test match that refuses to end, and we really don't know which side it's going to go.
I think more than the confusion which Anurag Thakur was talking about, I think they want to confuse the court or to the public. I mean, I don't understand, if Supreme Court orders are not implemented in this country, what orders will be implemented? This is a simple thing. And also, if they talk about, one state, one vote, is there, the people from Northeast or from Uttarakhand or from Bihar, are they not eligible to represent Team India? I mean, are you trying to say that you are actually not fielding a Team India, rather it is a team of 16 states which you control? I mean, this is very, they are trying to confuse people, and on the, again, on the one state, one vote, and also on the cooling off period, they are trying to say that we should be given unlimited period to rule this BCCI. There are examples in Saurashtra where a person is ruling for last 40 years, more than 40 years. In Delhi, there is a vice president who has been ruling for more than 32 years. Are they some kind of cricketers? Is there some kind of contribution that they have made to cricket? Absolutely no. It is only because of the proxy votes. It is only because they have managed to manipulate the things in their own way. So in a way, I think this is the high time that administrators should be pushed into, they should be guided by Justice Lodha, and there should be an implementation.
Absolutely, because logically you would think the guidelines do make sense, at least to the layman, at least to the fans. It does make sense. If you look at it, they are trying to make it more cricketers oriented and less politicians. So logically, if you look at it, it does make sense. But clearly, that's not what the BCCI is trying to pull its strings at. Do you think it's also waiting perhaps for the ICC? He did say that he did not directly ask Shashank Manohar to interfere or ask him to say anything to the court. But the very fact that he has spoken to, the ICC chief, do you think in that way, they're looking at it in that way to perhaps the ICC saying, let's not interfere in a cricketing body, let the judiciary stay on its own?
Well, that's what BCCI president says. But if you go by what BCCI CAO, Mr. Ratnakar Shetty, his affidavit is complete contradiction into what his president is saying. He said we have never asked the ICC president, and Mr. Anurag Thakur saying yes, we have asked the president. So who is right? Who is controlling BCCI right now? BCCI is definitely in day-to-day running. President is not involved. So there is confusion among themselves. And also, when you say whether these recommendations make sense, then obviously it has to make sense. These recommendations have come only after talking to more than 100 people around. Justice Lodha has consulted everybody from cricketers to journalists to laymen to cricket lovers, and they have reached this conclusion that probably this nexus, the BCCI administrators nexus, this has to be broken. The people who are running the states or running the BCCI for over decades will have to stop this. Somewhere I think these recommendations, if implemented in cricket, this has to go down to other associations.
So what do you make of today, the Supreme Court, not it's reserving its order, but telling the BCCI, come with a date to me, but at the same time not really setting a deadline of sorts for the BCCI on when the implementations are going to be implemented, the recommendations, I'm sorry. Do you think it is as much a challenge for the BCCI as much as it is also for the judiciary coming out with these this landmark kind of a recommendation? And it's also quite a challenge for the judiciary to make sure that something does get implemented.
I think in my opinion, if you ask me, if Supreme Court appoints a set of people to run BCCI and remove the present setup, then obviously they need people of credibility, immense credibility. So in a way, in my opinion, they must be in consultation, or they must be getting the consent of former players or former administrators or maybe the former justices. So there has to be, I would say, in my opinion, there has to be a set of people, not just of cricketers or not just of the former justices. It has to be one cricketer, one maybe good administrator of repute, and then probably one former judge who could run the administration and within 6 months, within 2 months, whatever be the time period given to them, implement the entire report report and then have the elections, the new elections, new set of people, and give them all the powers. Why can't cricket be run by good people, by new people, and by also the former cricketers who have been, keeping aside, who have been kept aside by these administrators because they don't want cricketers to get involved into the cricket business.
And that is, in fact, the situation that we see not just within cricket but other sporting bodies as well, isn't it?
Certainly.
Absolutely. So very quickly, what's the way out then? Do we see this dragging on for some more dates in the court? Do we see the Supreme Court eventually saying that, listen, I've given you enough time, come, give me a date finally? Is there a deadline that's going to be set? For now, there is no deadline.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's over and out for BCCI. The way court mood was there, in the court, and also the way amicus, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, he pleaded. I think it is only a matter of time. Maybe I'm expecting before the Diwali, holidays that this judgment will come, and all this present set will be, removed or will be kept, in the suspended animation, and probably the new set of players and new set of administrators will take over. So in a way, I think it's only a matter of couple of days because 30th is Diwali. I don't know when the holidays are starting. So before that, it has to come.
All right. We hope for that, definitely. As fans, we're really looking forward to some change, really, in the BCCI, isn't it? Or for that matter, various state bodies as well, as far as cricket is concerned. Thanks so much for the moment, Shekhar, for joining us on this big story that we'll be tracking. Like you were saying, of course, around Diwali time is perhaps what we'll be seeing, the next legal proceeding that we'll be seeing on this. Meanwhile, let's head on to another one of our headline stories. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Brazilian President Michel Temer held summit-level talks in Goa today. The talks focused on nourishing economic and investment ties between the two countries. The two sides also signed 3 MOUs. Prime Minister Modi thanked Brazil for its support to India's NSG bid, and the Brazilian president too invited Prime Minister Modi to visit his country.
A day after the BRICS summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held bilateral talks with Brazilian President Michel Temer in Goa on Monday. Both leaders discussed the entire spectrum of the relationship and ways to scale up cooperation between the two countries. They also witnessed the exchange of 4 cross-sectoral MOUs. The agreements include areas of genetic resources, agriculture, animal husbandry, natural resources, fisheries, farmer products regulation, cattle genomics and assisted reproductive technologies, investment cooperation and facilitation treaty. Prime Minister Modi also welcomed Brazilian companies to invest in India while seeking greater markets for Indian products in Brazil.
I welcome Brazilian companies to come and invest in India and forge long-term commercial partnerships. I am encouraged at the steps they are taking to advance pragmatic collaboration. We will fully support this. I have sought President Temer's support in facilitating greater market access and investment opportunities for Indian products and companies.
The Prime Minister also appreciated Brazil's support for India's actions to combat terrorism. He also thanked President Temer for understanding India's aspirations in seeking the membership of the nuclear suppliers group.
We agreed that the world must come together to fight this menace without distinction. We thank Brazil for understanding India's aspiration for membership of the nuclear suppliers group.
The Brazilian president emphasized the importance of bilateral relations between India and Brazil, stating that trade between the two countries could triple in a few years.
Despite the geographical distance, the fact is that Brazil and India do share the very same set of values and objectives. All of us, both of our nations, Brazil and India, are among the world's largest democracies in the developing world. We have also completed the negotiations regarding the cooperation and investments facilitation agreement between our two countries. The agreement will obviously expand and boost legal certainty for investors.
Temer also invited the Prime Minister to visit Brazil to further scale up the engagement between the two countries. With Akhilesh Suman in Goa, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
After finishing the Hungary leg of his two-nation 5-day tour, Vice President Mohamed Hamid Ansari is reaching Algeria, where he will hold bilateral meetings with the Algerian president. The Vice President said that Algeria was rich in oil and natural gas and a major supplier of gas to Europe. India already imports oil from Algeria, and with this tour is aiming to explore various other opportunities. Algeria has extensive reserves of phosphates, and the possibility of a joint venture fertilizer plant is also expected to be explored. The Vice President also added that a proposed MOU on water management was aimed to help India gain from Algeria's experiences on how to clean a river and make it navigable. With a quick break here, we'll be back with the international news in a bit. Stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Let's continue with national news. And the Congress today criticized the defense minister for his remarks on the surgical strikes and the army, calling his views an embarrassment. The party spokesperson Manish Tiwari charged Parikar with allegedly giving credit to the RSS for the surgical strikes.
The defense minister is very quick to credit everyone from mythology to the RSS for the operations along the LOC. This leads to two inescapable conclusions. Number one, Manohar Parrikar does not deserve to be the Defence Minister of India. Number two, that the operations along the LOC were unfortunately targeted more at domestic consumption rather than changing the behavior of the deep state in Pakistan.
A farmers' federation in Tamil Nadu has called for the two-day rail blockade starting on Monday. They are demanding the setting up of a Kaveri Water Management Board. Opposition parties, including the DMK, have joined the statewide protests. Meanwhile, a technical committee constituted by the Supreme Court has submitted its report acknowledging the problems faced by Karnataka in releasing the water to Tamil Nadu.
Farmers in Tamil Nadu went on a 48-hour rail roko agitation across the state to support their demand for a Kaveri Management Board. Opposition parties, including the DMK, joined the protest. Leading a procession at Perambur, DMK leader M.K. Stalin was detained and later released by the police. In Pudukkottai, hundreds of DMK cadres blocked trains. More than 2,500 workers from the left, VCK and MDMK also staged protests in Thanjavur and Cuddalore. They were later detained by the police.
The union government should constitute the Kaveri Management Board immediately as per the direction of Supreme Court. This is our main demand, only one demand.
In Thanjavur district, the police arrested several farmers protesting on the rail tracks. More arrests were made at Pollachi, Metupalayam and Sulur railway stations in Coimbatore district. There is a heavy deployment of police forces at railway stations across the state to maintain law and order.
Farmers are suffering. There is no water. There is no, all the three season crops have failed. At about 17 to 18 lakh hectares of land is without water. Where will the farmers go? They will have to commit suicide. At least now the government of India should put pressure on the government of Karnataka or form the management board so that the control of Kaveri river goes to the management board and water is released to the Tamil Nadu farmers.
Meanwhile, a high-level technical team submitted its findings to the Supreme Court. The committee said farmers are suffering from water deficits in both Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. It suggested cooperation and efforts to give some relief to farmers in both states. The Supreme Court had sought the team to assess realities in the Kaveri Basin areas in the two states. The court will hear a case filed by Tamil Nadu on the Kaveri River water sharing on Tuesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, state tax officials today held a mass protest in Delhi against the centre on the perceived fallout of the goods and service tax regime. The move comes a day ahead of the crucial meeting of the all-powerful Gst Council that will sort out issues for rollout of the new indirect tax regime from the 1st of April 2017.
The perceived loss of revenue due to the goods and services tax is setting off alarm bells among the state tax officials. Around 2.5 lakh members of the All India Confederation of Commercial Taxes Associations and Deputy Commissioner rank bureaucrats are protesting against the centre for allegedly throttling their fiscal autonomy. Officials claim that in the long run there will be no promotion and creation of new jobs in commercial departments of the states. The association wants states to be allowed to enforce and collect tax on both goods and services.
This will definitely disturb the state's administrative control on its economy. Every state should have some resources to tax, own resources to tax, and should have some control over its own tax resources.
The Union government advanced the winter session of Parliament specially to expedite the GST rollout. Parliament passed the Constitution 122nd Amendment Bill for the GST in August, but it has to clear the central GST and integrated GST bills before the rollout. The opposition parties plan to raise all contentious issues in the upcoming session.
Again, they will have to come back to Parliament. At that time, at that point of time, we will raise some of these issues which are in the apprehensions which are in the minds of such sections of our employees.
The GST Council decided that states will have administrative control over assessees with annual turnover of less than 1.5 crore rupees. After the 1.5 crore mark, the new regime espouses the role of equal jurisdiction between the state and the centre. There will be status quo for assessment of service tax assessees, with the powers continuing to stay with the centre.
एक उनका भ्रम है, ये एक सिस्टम जो बनता है उसमें इस प्रकार के स्लैब्स दिए जाते हैं और वो तय हुआ है. इसमें किसी को पावर कम, किसी को अधिक, ऐसी बात नहीं है. सवाल ये है कि जिसके दायरे में जो आएगा वो उसके लिए उत्तरदायित्व उसका बनेगा और वो उसके लिए जिम्मेदार होगा.
Tuesday's meeting of the GST Council will deliberate on various contentious issues. The Finance Ministry has set November 22nd as the deadline for building consensus on all the issues in the Council. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more updates from across the country in Nationwide. Punjab Congress Chief Captain Narendra Singh on Monday embarked on a 3-day Kisan Bus Yatra which will cover over 500 kilometers in 7 districts of the state. He began the journey with a vow to punish the Badal government for allegedly pushing the state's farmers to suicide. The Yatra was flagged off by the widows of 9 debt-ridden farmers who committed suicide. The Bus Yatra will be dotted by Kisan Sabhas and Mandi meetings in addition to roadshows. Normal life remained affected in Kashmir on Monday amid a shutdown call given by separatists. Because of the shutdown, the state is estimated to be losing 135 crore rupees a day, with small traders being hit the hardest. Schools and colleges have also remained shut for over 3 months now, derailing academic sessions. Kashmir is grappling with its worst unrest in 6 years that began after security forces killed a Hizbul terrorist, Burhan Wani, in July. Separatists have repeatedly extended their shutdown call. The current shutdown program is scheduled to last till the 20th of October. The Supreme Court on Monday asked CBI to conclude its investigation into journalist Rajdev Ranjan's murder within 3 months. The court said that none of the accused in the case was allowed to seek bail on grounds that a charge sheet was yet to be filed in the matter. The Supreme Court also sought a report as to whether the 2 absconding offenders, Mohammad Kaif and Mohammad Javed, were declared proclaimed offenders in the case on the day that they were seen with Bihar Health Minister Tej Pratap Yadav and controversial RJD leader Shahabuddin. 2 people were arrested on Monday by the Mumbai police in connection with the murder of a 72-year-old RTI activist. Veera was shot dead at point-blank range on Saturday at his residence in Santa Cruz. He had been fighting the land mafia, unauthorized structures and encroachments in and around Kalina. Veera had reportedly persuaded BMC authorities on Saturday morning to issue 4 notices to a local goon living in the same area. International news now. In the UK and France are expected to push for strong condemnation of Russia and Syria as the EU foreign ministers meet to discuss the war in Syria. This as the death toll due to air raids in Aleppo continues to rise. EU foreign ministers met in Luxembourg on Monday with plans to continue pushing for humanitarian aid to the besieged town of the besieged Syrian city. In fact, the EU is stepping up efforts to support the United States in its bid to stop the bombing of eastern Aleppo, where 275,000 civilians are trapped. The bloc is, however, split over strategy towards Russia, which is its biggest energy supplier. European Union leaders are expected to discuss Russia and possible new sanctions at a summit in Brussels on Thursday.
Stress that the solution to this, the future salvation of Aleppo, lies really with the Assad regime and above all with the Russians. It's up to them to pull the plug on this thing, to see sense, and I appeal to the greatness of the Russian people to choose a different path and to go for peace and get us back on the path of negotiations in Geneva. That's what we need today, and that's what we'll be discussing. Thank you very much.
Et il faut aussi dire clairement que la Russie est engagée aux côtés du régime de Bachar el-Assad dans une logique de destruction. On pense bien sûr à l'expérience de Grozny, mais ça ne peut pas être une option. On ne peut pas fermer les yeux sur cette situation.
Meanwhile, airstrikes killed at least 12 civilians in Aleppo on Monday, taking the death toll in the last 24 hours of bombardment to 45. Dozens more were wounded or still trapped under the rubble. Rescue missions remain incomplete in fear of further airstrikes by warplanes circling above. Both Russian and Syrian warplanes are carrying out airstrikes over Aleppo to capture rebel-held parts of the northern city. Meanwhile, in Iraq, forces have launched a campaign to retake Mosul from Islamic State terrorists. The government offensive is backed by armed tribes, militias and US-led coalition airstrikes. Mosul is Iraq's second largest city and the last urban center still under IS control. The recapture of Mosul would mark the effective defeat of the IS in Iraq.
Iraqi forces have begun their offensive to recapture the city of Mosul, the de facto capital and the last stronghold of Islamic State terrorists in the country. The assault on Mosul is backed by the US-led coalition and could be one of the biggest military operations in Iraq since the 2003 US-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein.
يا أبناء شعبنا العزيز، يا أبناء محافظة نينوى الأحبة، لقد دقت ساعة الانتصار وابتدأت عمليات تحرير الموصل. أعلن اليوم ابتداء هذه العمليات البطلة.
It was from Mosul that Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared a caliphate in the territory controlled by the group in Iraq and Syria. The bid to retake Mosul comes after the military, backed by armed tribes and militias, along with US-led coalition airstrikes, regained much of the territory seized by the terror group since 2014. Monday saw artillery fire in the city, with Kurdish forces saying they have retaken a number of villages in their advance.
والله ورا منظور برزه وقتی داعش قوت برانبری ما هیچ نبود است برای فروخان هر حسابی هم بنا کرد ورا پشمرگی زور برزه لبروی برزه اما ضد گروپ کیش دکن شر دکن که ضد بشریت.
However, the launch of the operation marks only the start of a battle that is likely to last a few weeks. The United Nations has expressed extreme concern for the safety of up to 1.5 million people in the area, fearing that the vastly outnumbered Islamic State fighters could use them as human shields as they seek to repel the assault. Islamic State has also lost ground in Syria, losing one of its strongholds, Dabiq. Syrian rebels backed by Turkish forces took control of the northern Syrian town following heavy shelling and months of airstrikes. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And that's all we have for you in the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.